Hey, good morning. I am Gayle Willey, and I'm the Executive Director for Missouri CASE. And we are really excited to co-host this webinar with Let's Go Learn, Rethinking Special Education Support in Missouri. We have a great partnership with a company that not only wants to support special ed administrators, teachers, and the end goal supporting students. So the presenter today is Richard Capone, the CEO and co-founder of Let's Go Learn. And take it away, Richard. Thank you.
All right, great. And we also have with us today Dr. Angela Bost, who is our VP of Partnership Success. And Angela is a former deputy superintendent. So she has a lot of operational experience. So, first of all, why this partnership makes a lot of sense. In the ed tech space, unfortunately, there's a lot of information coming at you as SPED directors or SPED professionals. And a lot of times you don't know what product does what. So we are case endorsed, and MoCase, we talked about having this partnership because we are really focused on special educators, and they believe that we can actually help you all. And so we decided to do this partnership, and we are offering a 50% discount for all MoCase members on our platform. And so there's more information on that at the very end, but it's really a true discount, right? It's not like it's Black Friday, since that was our Cyber Monday on Monday, where
Right.
people jack their prices up and then they reduce it. It's actually a real discount, and they have auditing rights to figure that out. So we're excited about this partnership because it's the first one in the country that we've done this, right? So anyway, with that said, I'm going to jump into it. And so Angela and I are going to be talking about the platform, and we're going to be showing you the different parts of it. But first of all, a couple minutes of who Let's Go Learn is. And I only have about, I think, 12 slides, and then I'm going to jump into the demo, right? And today's webinar is going to be 45 minutes. So first of all, who's Let's Go Learn? So Let's Go Learn is basically, I found the company in 2000 with Dr. McCollum. He ran the Reading Credential Program. And at the time, he told me, Richard, there's a lot of testing out there, but very few will tell you, why. Why is the student struggling? Why are they doing well? And so it's really important. That's always been our guiding principle. And so today, we want to lower the threshold for personalization. We want to support and empower the special education teacher. Probably about 6, 7 years ago, we shifted to really focus on special education because at that time we realized they're the ones who need the best data, right? Other areas need good data, but it's not as important. Special educators really need it. So what's happening? There is a seismic shift happening in AI today, right? So if you look at the couple quotes here from Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Alphabet, Google, he basically said that this is as profound as the invention of electricity or fire, right? It's quite interesting. And also, DeepMind's CEO, Demis Hassabis, he said that artificial intelligence will be more important, one of the most important technologies ever, right? It's changing every part of life. And I think this is true. The scale and speed of it is amazing, and the societal impact is amazing. So that's two things I want to bring up. I do want to just talk real quickly. I know there's been a lot of talk about, is AI a bubble? Now, a lot of you all are here because you probably believe it's not. But this is also these slides, you'll get these slides. This is sometimes you do have to convince people in your own organizations of the importance. If you look at AI, the investment this year is about 300 billion, right? And so you see that little green bar right there in the middle, 2025. And next year they expect it to be 600 billion. So in 1 year of investment of telecom, right, when the broadband build out, in 1 year, the peak was only 225 billion. The US Railway in 50 years in adjusted dollars, they did about $450 billion. So next year, in 1 year, we're going to invest more in AI than the 50 years of railroad. So this is really incredible. I think there could be fluctuations in stock prices like Nvidia and stuff like that. And that's what people are talking about, a bubble. But overall, it's not. When you look at the amount of capital going in, people understand the significance of it, and they're putting dollars behind it. And even our own, from our personal, experience for Angela and I at Let's Go Learn, our engineers are producing 2.5 times more code by using AI empowered tools, right? Internally, we're using it to really advance ourselves. And then even the tools I'm about to show you are amazing. So it's really has a big impact. So the stakes in special education are high. The two areas are personnel and compliance. I don't know, Angela, you want to sort of talk a little bit about the personnel, the teacher shortage, and the compliance needs?
Yes, so thank you, Richard. Yeah, so we know there's really always been a teacher shortage, and especially in special education. what makes it even more critical than ever is that our students are entering with even more needs than ever. So it exacerbates the issue. And then on top of that, having to address compliance issues and moving into different levels of sanctions because certain compliance standards aren't met. And then the next thing you know, as a school, a district, you are faced with having to focus on compliance more than student learning. So, and that's unfortunate. And we are a tool that can help make sure that you do not have to forego the important process of improving student outcomes while you're also attending to the also important compliance issues in light of a teacher shortage.
Awesome. Thank you. So as far as the AI evolution, I'm going to reflect this back just real quickly, and then we're going to talk about where we're at and show you what's going on. Now, I only have a few more slides. So first of all, GPTs, right? Those are the actual AI, and our most of our experience with it could be ChatGPT, could be Gemini, which is Google's AI. There's other ones as well out there. There's Claude, there's Grok. Um, What's interesting about that, that's been a lot of people's first experience. But where we're at right now is really the AI assistants are the hot spot for special education. And that's because we now are pre-training AIs to do the work and take over existing workflows. And it's really important because this makes a lot of sense. The easy thing is initially to have AI help us with our existing workflows. Now, where things will be going in the future is AI agents. Now, agents will be acting autonomously. They'll have access to your email. Maybe they have access to other login systems, right? And then they could do things for you. And I would say in special education, that's a little harder because we're a highly regulated space because of student privacy. So AI agents won't happen as fast. And then the idea is that AGI, artificial general intelligence, will come in 20 to 40 years. That's when AI is smarter at every single task that a human can do. Now, recently, there's been some pushback on that, saying that the current models, there is no human who could do that, right? So why is it the goal to have AGI? Because maybe when something could do everything, it's not as good at certain tasks. And so now there's even talks about producing AI, LLMs, large language models that are specifically geared towards certain markets, right? And that's interesting because they're starting to see some limitations there. So this is interesting conversations going on. But I think that then pushes us back to the assistant market, right? Saying, hey, well, then let's have AI that is really good at specific skills. And so that's what our strategy is. Human expertise, AI that assists. It allows for a cautious adoption, right? Human workflows change slowly, so it allows for that. You have AI start working with our existing workflows. Then as special educators, we know are ready for this. Look at back in March at CEC, look at MoCase, look at CASE. AI is really ready, right? Special educators are ready. So the AI assistant strategy makes a lot of sense, and that's the strategy we're adopting. Now, with that said, here are our AI assistants. We've got our support assistant. Very simple. The support assistant, Kia, is connected to our knowledge base. Makes a lot of sense, right? Once it's attached to our database of all our knowledge base, you could ask it anything and it could contextually find those answers. We have a few other ones. This is tied to the LCE 2.0 product, a transition curriculum by CEC, reading assistant, math assistant, AIRMA, and a lesson plan assistant. Now, today, you all can create your own assistants. And I want to reflect this back as leaders. ChatGPT is offering free accounts for schools and teachers. And if you're using Google as your workspace or using Microsoft Cloud, they have the same thing. They have assistants. So tomorrow, you could literally create your own assistants. You can create one, a special education compliance assistant, and it has access to all of your compliance manuals, which could be a Google Doc or it could be a file, a Word file. It could be Excel spreadsheets. You could literally make these assistants for yourself tomorrow. So what it's telling us is that I actually personally think AI is moving into your core email cloud system. So that's either Google or Microsoft right now. So I think that's really important. I think that's where things are going to go, and we see some big shifts happening with Google right now, and Microsoft obviously has been doing it for a while as well. So with that said, it does mean you're going to want to use products, probably explore more of those. And it means it's also important for contextual AI, what we have, where people can provide more information, like we're going to be showing you with the assessment data. Okay, I know I'm digressing a little bit, but I think it's important to understand all of this as special education leaders, and I'm always happy to have a conversation about this. Okay, so where are we? Our solution. These are the two areas we're focused on: present level identification and progress monitoring, right? So obviously, present level identification is very hard, and progress monitoring is very hard. And these are two areas where if you don't do it right, you fail in your substantive compliance. Okay, here's the overall platform we have today. We do a present level diagnostic. We have various assessments. We take that data, and then that the engine looks at it, and it can give you data for whole group, small group, individual. Teacher can assign lessons based on it. It generates an SDI course that focuses on the gap of the students in ELA and math. And then, of course, we have progress monitoring that lays on top. All right. The workflow is you diagnose first. Then you use that data to write IEP ready reporting. AI assists in this area as well. You can do it manually. We create an SDI course for every student, and then you do your progress monitoring, pre-made quizzes. Anything you teach, you quiz on it. That data lays back on top of your baseline data, one-click progress monitoring. So that is the overall platform we have, and it's been out for a while, but now we're AI empowering it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So actually, Angela, maybe I'll let you talk about how we are not just supporting the special educator, but also intervention, behavior, and general ed, the broader part.
Yeah, so we know that students with IEPs are general education students first. And so our efforts, our work, our support of your work focuses on that, ensuring that all educators in the building who work with students have the tools they need. Using the Let's Go Learn platform, if you use the ELA and reading map platform, you have the academic side of the triangle, but we also have the behavior side of the MTSS triangle. General educators can also use our summary reports. As I stated below, they're involved before their engagement in this whole assessment to instruction process is critical, because they should be receiving core instruction unless it's determined based on data that they need to move out of core instruction part of the day into more intensive intervention. And how do you know how to do that? Well, you can't just leave it to guesswork. We know that in the past, many districts have done that. I was a part of having done that. And over time, once you learn that, you must have tools that will cause you to make the decisions that are right for students. You can improve student learning at a much faster rate.
All right, so a lot of what we have is based on starting with a diagnostic model of assessment. So a lot of assessments out there don't tell you why, right? They're maybe a screener, maybe they're a summative assessment, but the real thing that we do is if a student's in fifth grade, we're going to go up and down from K to 12 to find their actual present level within each of the subtests of reading. So that's what a true diagnostic model does, right? It doesn't just take a snapshot of the fifth grade standards if you're in fifth grade and tell you where you're at above or below. In math, it's even crazier because there's actually technically 44 subtests across foundational math. And that's where you see this. So within each of these, we find the student's present level. And then from that, you know what to work on next. You know how to write your SMART goals. You know what you need to focus on. And this is really important. So just to sort of illustrate this, if we take a look at place value, for instance, what is place value? Place value is really the sequence of these skills: two-digit, one-digit place value, three-digit, hundred thousands, given expanded form of given number, thousands, 10,000s, hundred thousands, millions, and then finally decimal place value. So that is how you teach place value. And like if you look at this example here, Xavier is basically his present level is at thousand, 10,000, hundred thousands, and millions place value, but he has not learned decimal place value. So that is the key, right? Having a present level diagnostic, being accurate at these skill and concept level. And that's what we do in our assessment. So now I'm going to go ahead and jump in. Let's take a look at our system. We're in an account here, and this is real student data. So if I go ahead and take a look at this right here, first we'll start with reading assessment data. These are real students who have IEPs, and they've taken our DORA assessment and our ADAM assessment, but all the names have been changed, of course. So if we look at reading, we see that reading is broken up into high frequency words, word rec, phonics, phonemic awareness, spelling, vocabulary comprehension. If we take a look at phonics specifically, I want to look at my class in terms of their phonics skills. I could select that skill and break it out. And we see this is the scope and sequence of phonics, right? The very bottom, these kids have all mastered phonics. These students here are working on beginning consonants. These four students are working on all beginning consonants and short vowel, consonant blend. And this is the scope and sequence, right? So literally, at a glance, these are my small groups. These four students should work on multi-syllable words. If I wanted to queue them up for a quiz, I could. I could create a lesson plan with AI help. So this is showing you, I just want to illustrate the granularity of the data for you, right? Likewise, if I want to take a look at a specific student here. All right, so if we look at different scores here, we'll see, for instance, if we look at the student here, high maximum score for high frequency words, a little bit lower in phonics, comprehension's low. So I can go ahead and take a look at a report. And now this is sort of the basic stuff. So here's a great report. How Shannon reads words, goal to gain strategies in areas of phonics and word recognition and use a combination of these strengths while encouraging tricky words. Okay, because she had really strong sight words, we want to focus on those other areas. How Shannon understands words, how she's bringing it together. And we have a little paragraph right here. So this is all, this is a report you can print out. It's great information. We see exactly where she's at in the phonics principles. She needs to work on vowel digraphs next. But this is what you could do with all the different reports. And there's lots of different reports available, all right? If we wanted to take a look also at, let's take a look at math. We now see mathematics scores. And if we look at this here, we see the strand scores, right? Numbers and operations, measurements, data, geometry, and algebra. Of course, this is not diagnostic enough for special education because these strand scores don't tell you enough. What I want to do, if I take a look at Jay Lee here, let's break out the numbers and operations. We now see that she's maxed out on numbers, place value of 4.9. Comparing and ordering is a little bit low, fractions very low. She doesn't even have mastery of the first skill, a fraction. So we start seeing an area of what we need to focus on, right? Now, of course, you would learn how to do this. I'm just sort of throwing this out there, but I'm familiar with the numbers. Every score is tied to a skill and concept, right? And we have these different powerful reports. So special educator, 6 months ago, before we had AI, would come to this report and say, okay, I want to try to bring up Jay Lee's numbers and operations score from 3.65 to 4.65. Here's my present levels. Right here, I see all the present level. Jay Lee can correctly round to the nearest tens, hundred thousands. Jay Lee can identify thousands, 10,000, 100,000, and millions. If I want to see what I work on next, I can grab my skills here, say refresh. And now this is where I'll start targeting what skills I want and what's going to be my SMART goals, right? So I'm going to be targeting those lowest skills possible. And if we look really some low skills in fractions, a couple other ones around, right? So this is what Angela's teams will train your team on how to do this. So this is some base training and understanding this report. But if I wanted to do this automatically now with AI, this is what's really powerful. I go to the Learning Plan Assistant, AIRMA. So now I come over here and I would select the student. Let's select Jay Lee again. Right here, Jay Lee Anderson. So now I could say, please write a paragraph-based laugh, right? Now, this is where I'm just writing this real quickly, and you'll see what happens. But if you had a little bit of training and we changed that prompt and you could save your own prompts right here, or you can have global prompts for your organization, it would basically allow you to fine-tune these paragraphs to your model, right? To exactly how you need to. So right now it's giving one paragraph on Jay Lee for reading and one for math. We see it here. It mentions in phonics exactly where she's at. It's good identifying those present levels. So if I wanted to actually have a more elaborate one that's pre-saved, I'm going to go ahead and select one here. Write a PLAF. This is one that we have saved. And it's a little bit more elaborate. It's telling you to list the name of the assessment and a few other information. So I'm going to have her redo that one. But really, what I think, Angela, it's about 2 half-hour sessions with one of our PSSs, and they would be able to fine tune this to your specific language of the school or district, right? So there it is. So it has it written right here. And if you look at this one right here, it actually breaks out. Um, it says right here where her present level is. Uh, Corresponds to mastery of consonant blends. This means Jaylee is able to read, write containing consonant blends, but not yet mastered long vowel. So it's giving you all that specific information, right? Now, the next thing I could do is it has both basically both the math and reading data pushed into it. If I wanted to also, I can say, hey, let's go ahead and work on what are the next 10 skills in math I want to work on, but I'm going to modify this. Please provide next 10 math skills in numbers and operations that I should teach a student, identify these skills. So now it's going to go ahead and it's actually explaining why it's doing this too. So in our prompts, we like telling it to explain it because then it actually helps make it more accurate. And this is part of the, operational experience we have with working with AI. And remember with Jay Lee, when we looked at her, a lot of her skills are very low in fractions. So look at it, specifically grab these fraction skills to work on, right, as a target within numbers and operations. So it's grabbing those lowest skills and it's explaining what it's doing. So at any point, if I take some of this data, so let's go back all the way up to the PLAF at first. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to save this. So I can export my response and I could say save. And I'll call this J. Lee new PLAF. Okay, so here it is. So let's say this is it. I'm going to take out the validation. I don't need the validation text. So the idea as a teacher, I'd come over here and I'd say, this is my present level statement. And right now it's AI first draft. But if I come in here and edit it, I could modify the text, make some adjustments, then I could save it as teacher first draft. So this is a whole document system that every teacher has. It's like having your own Google Doc in our system. And you could basically save these. You could share them with other colleagues. You could say review pending, team review, parent review, finalize, even archive it. So I'm going to say this is teacher. Let's just say that this is going to be finalized. Okay. I'm going to save that. All right. Now, what's interesting is I could go ahead and come over here to my dashboard for Jaylee, and I could say, let's take a look at the student dashboard. And we see here's that present level document that we just worked on. But let's say I want to add something else. I want to create an accommodation document. All right. And on this one here, I'll say Jay Lee has a slight hearing impairment. Let's see here. She should work in a quiet setting and be seated up front. Okay, I'm just going to sort of say that right there. So let me just save that. The other thing you can do when you click on any document right here, you can go ahead and ask it to polish this up. Maybe I feel like my writing. All right, so Jay Lee has a mild hearing impairment and benefits from working in a quiet environment while being seated near the front. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and replace that. So it made it sound better than my stream of consciousness writing, right? So this is great. Now the other thing I can do is I can add an interest form. So let's say something here. Like small, Jay Lee interest. Jay Lee loves animals. Stories about animals, etc. Okay, so I'll show you why I'm doing this in a little bit. So now we're starting to store some basic documents on Jay Lee. Now, if I want to come back over, I could take a look at all of her documents. I could take a look at the threads we just worked on before, right? This is the one we just wrote. Her academics. Long-term, when she has behavior data, if she did have a behavior intervention plan, it would show up here. And also, you can also cluster any of your documents. So we now can add groups of documents and you can create your own headings here. So if I go edit tab, I can create a new tab called progress monitoring or whatever I want. We have one called parent, and it's certain category documents show up in that category, right? So this is a great way of storing all of your documents. But let's say I want to go back to my existing conversation. Remember, we were looking at this one right here. This is one we just wrote. I'm going to reopen that up. And this is where we left off. Now, what's interesting about this is if I click on this little uh, icon down here, we can also verify this is what AI received from information on Jaylee initially when we started it. She's 12, her current date today, her scores, just since her first name only. And we see that it has her reading scores, her math scores, everything's de-identified. So this is a great accountability. We actually act as the firewall between AI and your LEA, your school or district, right? So it's completely protected. AI doesn't even know the teacher's name. It doesn't even know where you're at. So it's very anonymous in our system. So it's very protected. Now you can still go back to the threads, which is great. So we see that we have this very safe way. We can go back to conversations and use it. So it's really pretty amazing in that regard. Now, coming back over here, if I want to, I'm going to go ahead and let's start a new chat. We'll grab Jaylee again here. All right, so now I could say, please create a, I forget what it was. She was supposed to work on a short vowel phonics lesson, right? I could go ahead and do that. And I'm going to go ahead and grab her plaf. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm sorry. I guess it's not showing up right now, but I think I might have had to change the status. But I would normally grab her interest document as well. And it's not showing up right now. But if you grab the interest document, then it would use that in generating this lesson, right? So that's the whole advantage there. And I made a mistake on that. I have to change the status of it. But anyway, so here it is. It's now creating a short vowel lesson. It gives you objectives, introduction, direction, so on and so forth. So the idea is that it really can help with that creativity, help teachers, and then you can go ahead and interact with it. Hey, I need a shorter lesson. I need something for a 30-minute period or 120-minute period, and you can do whatever you want and interact with that.
This does not just get close to what the student needs to know and be able to do, it drills into it. And it's so precise that when you go into your PLC meetings or whatever they're called, because actually it's really more important what you do there. And what we want teachers to be able to do is to take the data and make it actionable right there with their peers. And this allows you to do that instead of spinning your wheels with, well, do we have the right data? And is it accurate about each student?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So right now I'm going back to that and I'm looking at my class. And let's say I want to work on place value, right? Instructional placement. So here's my students are all over the place, right? We have students at the very, very bottom, not understanding. And maybe I want to do a customized lesson for these students right here who are working on two-digit place value. So I can go ahead and select those students' name and say AI lesson plan. And now I can go ahead and it says this lesson length should be about 45 minutes. So this is sort of a default text. I'll say, no, we actually have 60 minutes. So I'm going to change that and it's going to focus on place value ones and tens. Hit send. Now Luna is customized to write lesson plans. So we tell all the different pieces. We can change her instructions. For larger districts, we can actually completely change every single assistant to your own instructions. But we can also, in short term, most people just do it through the prompts, right? Teacher prompts, global prompt is at the school district or the school or district level. So here it is creating a lesson to teach ones and tens place value, and you see all the information right there, right? So it's pretty amazing. Again, if I want to save that, I could go ahead and hit this button right here and save that lesson, right? So now I can save it into my library or my documents. I don't have to associate it with a specific student. I can just save general documents as well, all right? Let's see here. So that's another piece of it, which is pretty amazing. Now, if I wanted to go back, actually, let me go down the very bottom here. Okay, and it even gives me some follow-ups. If you need a worksheet or activity sheet formatted for Google Docs, just let me know. It also has, you can create short-term worksheets that you can actually save and print. So it's pretty powerful. You just got to tell it what you want to do. Now, if I come back over to that page, let's say I do this lesson with the students, and then so I think I chose place value, instructional placement. Now, here are those students. Sorry, I'm flipping around here. I could select all those students and I say, okay, well, the only student I don't want to quiz yet is Aiden because maybe Aiden was absent. So I can uncheck his name and then I can say queue up. So clicking this button, I now queue all of them up for a ones and tens place value quiz. I think it's 5-question quiz. And if they pass that, right, we come back to our baseline data, it'll boost this value in this column, which then in turn regenerates a numbers and operations score and regenerates a total score. So every time your teacher gives a quiz, they have a running total. So that way it's going to provide rock solid progress monitoring. Yeah,
Um,
there's a lot more to it, but we don't
mhm.
really necessarily want to go through every single bell and whistle right now with you. But that's something, if you want a demo for your team, we'll do that later on, and also to help operationalize the training for you. So let me just show you a couple things. So the new contextual AI workflow is you do your initial assessments, it creates the present level identifications, and then you basically take those, you create documents for your students, right, in the system. You can store the disability statements, accommodations, interests. Then you now have our system write those first draft PLAFs. You saw how I could do it. Literally instantly, it can analyze the data, write your SMART goals, set up your end goal plus all your short-term objectives. You write PLAFs. Then it really frees up the teacher to reallocate more time for personalization. You could also use it to create custom lesson plans. And then I showed you how you can queue up the quizzes, right? So we have like 280 quizzes in math. I'm not sure how many in reading, quite a bit. But those quizzes, every time you give them, it's quantitative. So the data records and it lays on top of your baseline data. So you have rock solid substantive compliance, right? And that's pretty amazing. So that's sort of our system in a nutshell. What we're going to do is if you want to scan that and get a demo right away, just go ahead, scan that, fill it out, and then someone will contact you and you can get some more information. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at some of our questions here. All right, so how can your progress monitoring support substantive compliance? Okay, so I sort of, that's a good question. I sort of mentioned that already. So substantive compliance means that you can quantify whether a student is making gains or not. So because our quizzes, if I test someone on long vowel, if they pass that long vowel, I think they get a phonics score of like second grade or whenever you teach phonics, right? So that will actually give you a quantitative data on that level. And so that's why that's going to be substantive compliant, right? LLM are you using? We're currently using ChatGPT by OpenAI. And so that's the one we're using right now. Now we could long-term change into anything. We can change into Gemini. We can go to Grok. We can go to anything we wanted. But right now we're currently using ChatGPT. All right. Can you tell us a little bit more about your behavior solution? Angela, I'll let you take that one.
Yes, so our behavior solutions were developed by former practitioners with very relevant experience in addressing core behavior and the intensive support needs in schools and districts. So our foundational professional development shows a behavior problem solving teams from each school or district. We also allow individuals to participate. That's fine too, because we all start at different places. And it takes them through what we call our core behavior assessment tool. So it takes a really deep and wide dive into the things that need to be in place in order for you to have a strong behavior core to that will allow us to appropriately respond to the students who don't respond to the behavior core, because we know that first you must have a strong behavior core in place. After that, we ensure that we provide the professional development needed to address the top things that emerge from the core behavior assessment tool. And finally, we also have a behavior progress monitoring tool that can be used electronically on an app. And it not only allows you to track the expected behaviors and unexpected behaviors for your students at core, but it also becomes an even more viable tool to ensure that tiers 2 and 3 are progress monitored for each student. And we can build in a formula that allows you to see at any point in time how many are in tier 2 and tier 3. So as you think about the disproportionality issues, you can get in front of those before you get a Dear John letter from the state.
All right, thank you. Yeah, obviously behavior is a huge area, and we're real excited about that. That's why our latest release that came out in the beginning of the fall. Hey, Gail, here's a question for you.
You bet.
How is MoCase seeing AI, and how do you see supporting members in the future?
I think, thanks for asking. I've been hearing from members that they're using it as another tool, trying not to be afraid of it, but using it as a tool to help support them and to make their lives a little bit easier.
Uh, how hard or easy is it to implement your AI solution with special education teachers? So this fall has been the first time we've rolled it out with some different special education teachers and some cohorts, and we haven't rolled it out to all our customers. I think people are always a little cautious, which makes sense. But I would say it's been relatively easy in the sense that what some of our customers have done is they've found teachers who are already excited about it, or SPED directors, and they've sort of taken those teachers and let them lead a little bit. So sometimes they roll it out to them. They sometimes have already figured out the prompts they need to get uh, AI to write it exactly the way they want. And so then they've been working with Angela's team of our partnership success specialists, and then they will help write those prompts, store them in the system. And then, as you saw before, we even have one customer who they can just say, check PLAF, and it literally will check it across their 24 points that says, okay, is the name of the assessment in there? Is the assessment within a year? Is there a transition plan if the student's over 15? So they literally put their check into it, and then it tells them, oh, you're missing, questions, points 5, 8, 9, 10, which they all know because they have a master checklist. So it's done some pretty amazing things. And I think so far we've had really, really good reception of it. And I think, because we're working with the school and districts, it's been pretty nice. Angela, I don't know, you have more contact with our PSSs. So what's some of the additional feedback you've been getting?
Just the power behind being able to grab each student's data. And, nothing will ever replace a competent caring teacher, but we firmly believe that. And we think that they ought to know how to do the things that our agents can do. However, if we can equip them with the things they need, which is precisely what our AI tools do, then they can spend more time meeting all the other needs and feel more more efficacious, which we know is so critically important for our teachers of students with special needs.
All right, great. I think it looks like there's no more questions. So I guess thank you so much, Gail. I'll let you
Well,
close it out.
Well, thank you, Richard and Angela, both. Let's go learn. And I just want to remind everybody that Missouri MoCase members do get a 50% off as part of our partnership. And not only that, but I think both Richard and Angela are great resources as we move into this world of AI and making our lives just a little bit more simple. So thank you all and have a wonderful rest of your day.
All right,
Thank
thank you,
you.
everyone. Bye-bye.